Well, now I would like to welcome our speaker, Reverend Mitra Rahnema. Thank you. She asked me if this was my first time being a celebrant, and I said, it's my second. She, unlike me, is very experienced at this. 17 years as a UU minister in Missouri, Michigan, California, Oregon, a lifelong UUer, and we welcome you. We're glad that you're here.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I think for those who don't know, I think I've come once a year for the last 3 or 4 years. So this is one of my favorite Oregon congregations. Okay, I'm going to adjust. Bear with me. Because I'm tall. I've been told that I have a time limit. I'm terrible with time limits. Just so you know. Actually, just to digress, so in case you want to get to know me a little bit, I have this fantasy, because one of my heroes is Wendy Davis, who was the woman who filibustered the Texas Senate for 11 hours. And I have this little dream of matching that record. Before, don't challenge me. Before I begin my sermon, I actually have a reading, an extensive reading, written by the Reverend Robert Fulgham, entitled Mother Questions. If you don't know him, he's a Unitarian Universalist minister in Seattle, and he is most famous for writing the book, All I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. This is one of his essays. My house in Seattle is across the street from an elementary school. A high fence blocked my view, but I'm close enough to overhear conversations. One morning, I was out in my yard at that hour when children were being delivered to school. I heard a car door open and then slam, kaboom! Another door was open and a woman's voice came blasting over my fence. Billy, what on earth have you done? Ah, wailed Billy in the back seat. What on earth had Billy done? Maybe he spilled a whole bottle of apple juice or opened his lunchbox and spread the contents around looking for the cookies. Or worse, he had quietly vomited his breakfast all over himself and taken off most of his clothes, or picked this scab until the blood flowed. Or maybe he used a plastic picnic fork to tattoo his name into the back of his mother's seat, or decorated the upholstery and himself with a red magic marker that his mother didn't know he possessed. Having played both starring roles in this small domestic comedy, I can attest to the possibility that the kid had accomplished all of these moves during the short trip from home to school. My own mother asked me the same question often, and I, in my turn, asked my own children, who no doubt have followed the same line of inquiry with their kids. What on earth have you done? This is one of the great mother questions. The second great question mothers ask is a theological one. What in the name of God are you doing? Another mother question anticipates the future. And what will you think of next? My father rolled all these questions into one only. The tone changed. He said, what the hell? Children know these questions have no reasonable answer. Any child who has half a brain will go mute or mumble, nothing, or resort to pity-invoking sobs that appease innocence, ignorance, and helplessness. I don't know. And the child is kind of telling the truth. Most of the time, the kid doesn't think about what he's doing or why. This is the privilege of childhood. Now, at a distance from childhood and parenting, I begin to understand these great mother questions are, in fact, profound. They are the great life questions, questions of accountability. When asked of oneself in a calmer spirit, this line of inquiry makes sense, provokes thoughts, and even puts my feet back on the right path. For example, Well, just what on earth have you done? After all these years, what? I think it's useful to inquire to myself about the quality of my existence and my contribution to the Commonwealth. Never mind what I set out to do. What have I done? What's my record as a citizen of the earth? Likewise, what in the name of God am I doing? Queries my action on behalf of all that I say, I believe, and hold sacred. Finally, the question with ongoing relevance, what will you think of next? It's one of asking if my mind is stagnant, a stagnant cesspool of worn-out notions, or if I'm mentally active, still replacing archaic information with fresh and better ideas. And am I still thinking, still asking, still learning? So, energized by my thinking, I hurried around the fence to enlighten the mother who had been whipsawing Billy in the back seat. The kid was gone. The mother was sitting in the car weeping and beating both hands on the steering wheel while muttering to herself. I remember those parental moments, and it was not the time for the unknown wise man to appear and explain to the vexed lady the deeper meaning of the mother questions. I didn't want to have to answer the other great mother question, who do you think you are? That's the big one, isn't it? A flourishing life depends on how you answer it. Who do I think I am? The incontestable truth is that we come and go in sealed solitude. You cannot ever know what other people really think of you. Even your mother didn't tell you the truth all the time. And the world will tell you what it thinks you want to hear, not always what you need to know. What you think of you is what finally matters. When you look in the bathroom mirror in the morning, the court is open for business, and you are in the jury and the judge, and you are the jury and the judge on the case. Will the defendant please rise to answer the mother questions? What on earth have you done? What in the name of God are you doing? What will you think of next? And if you know, you can say, who do you think you are? End of reading. Oh, I also broke the rules and was told I shouldn't drink it.
I did my best.
He did so good. There's this story in the Hebrew Bible, the book of Judges, about a man named Samson who was born with the blessing of incredible strength. He was so strong, he wrestled a lion and won. This was similar to the Greek god Hercules. It said his strength radiated intense like the sun, similar to the ancient god Baal, who also wrestled with an unnamed animal in his story. The biblical story, Samson was not generous or graceful in his discernment of his ability. He was arrogant and known to attack groups of people in really horrific ways. But then one day he saw and fell in love with a Philistine woman named Delilah. Some say her name is derived from Layla, meaning night. When it became known that he had his sights on Delilah, she would have no choice because of his strength but to be with him. So the people who he had been horrific with went to Delilah and offered to give her money to find his weakness. She said, okay. So soon enough, one day, as they were together, she asked him directly. She asked about the secret of his strength. Well, Samson tells her all sorts of things. First, he says his strength would be lost by tying him with bowstrings, or with new rope, or tying his hair together. All of which, over time, she tries, but none of them work. I'm surprised that he never cared or got a clue to the fact that the love was not mutual. But that's another moral for another sermon. Anyway, one night he tells her the truth. It is from his hair that he gets his strength. You can guess her next move. That night, as he slept, she shaved his head. In the morning, he woke up without any power and at the mercy of those he had harmed. Some say this is the story, the battle of day and night. Some say hair symbolizes our relationship with God, the source of our strength. And some say the story speaks to simply the times when we find ourselves without strength. Because it is ironically often true that we learn about our powers in the moments that we lose them. We learn about our boundaries, our responsibility, and our limits, in our power, in our blessings, when we lose them. It's this spiritual uncertainty that we are forced to reformulate what we know, what we have done, what we are doing, what we imagine, and who we are, while we are growing or regrowing our strength. The good news is that asking questions or curiosity and wonder as a practice is, excuse me again, sorry. For some reason, whenever I get into it, I have to drink. Non-alcoholic here. The good news is that asking questions or curiosity and wonder is central to our Unitarian Universalist faith and experience. We use a variety of frameworks to examine the question. But at our center of who we are is the question itself. Of course, big life questions, reflective questions about birth and meaning and purpose and learning and bodies and change and death and legacy and belonging. And belonging is at the center. Exploring the answers is an act of spiritual strengthening, of growing, both individually and as a community. The question that Robert Fulgham lifts up in the reading, "What on earth have you done?" is so beautifully layered. As he said, it can be used as an accusation directed at others. What have you done? I'll be honest, this question came alive last week as society has tried to process how protester Alex Preti was murdered. If you watch the video of his death, which I do not recommend if you have, it's hard and permanent. But in the video, when he was shot 10 times, there's a woman who starts yelling, "What have you done?" Actually, she says, "What have you fucking done?" Hearing her words was so powerful because it was both so minute and so big at the same time. What had they done to end one man's life? And what had they done to all of society? That, of course, is unfolding as we live and breathe. I'll be honest, the question has been bouncing around in my thoughts all week as I tried to contend with the inhumanity of humans, because that's really what we are facing right now. The question, even as an accusation, is intimate and relational, rooted in the very real spoken and unspoken investment we have in each other's lives. It's rooted in the investment we have in each other's lives. It's also a personal reflection question. What on earth have you done? Perhaps on the occasions of a new year or a birthday or anniversary, looking at our lives with honest and hopefully loving assessment. What have you done is a way of centering ourselves. What have you made of your life? What impact have you had on yourself, on the people around you, on the world? This is one of the gifts of religious life, living with a sense of reflection. Think about the timeline of your unique life, your birth and growth, your human and psychological development, your love and your losses. What have you done with your one precious life here on earth? It's a developmental question, and it examines our connections, legacy, impact, both on a singular life and as a congregational community. Fulgham offers us 3 more mother questions. The next one, what in God's name are you doing? Or more gently, what are you up to these days? How do you spend your energy? What are you trying out? What are you learning? Does it feel meaningful and part of something larger than yourself? At first glance, this question uses "in God's name" as an intensifier, like, God damn it. But when it is slowed down in another form, it's a reflection. What in God's name are you doing? Or you can substitute that. What in the name of humanity are you doing? In the name of good, of sacred, of community. What in the name of community are you doing? What in the name of love are you doing? What in the name of our Unitarian Universalist faith or church are you doing? The quality changes because it now places us as an extension of something larger rather than an intensifier. As if each of us, all of us, are the fingers of a holy body of something. It asks us to be thoughtful with our being, our families, our work, and to fight for justice. In other words, what are you doing on behalf of the community to be a force for good? The next question, what will you think of next? What mischief are you planning? What whim will you indulge? This question merges our creative imagination with the theology of potential. For next, is this the moment and the next moment? And later today and tomorrow? Next is right in front of us, always. As Unitarian Universalists, we do not believe in inherent good of every person, even though some people say we do. But we do believe in inherent potential. That means it's inherent. It's always with you, with life. No matter the twists and turns, the age of life, the dread of life, the sorrow, potential is always with you. This question is that sweet spot of wonder and potential that we Unitarian Universalists sit in. What will you think of next? What could be? What do you imagine for yourself and for your community? Can we realize the beloved community? What fun and mischief and comfort and beauty and whimsy, what reconciliation might we foster? What is the vision? There's hope in this question. It means the future has potential, and we have the privilege of asking, what do we want to do, be, grow, learn? What will you think of next? And finally, the fourth mother question is, who do you think you are? Are you generous, strong, kind, smart, open, loving? Are you opinionated or brash or timid or anxious? Do you go under the radar or are you overly seen? Are you central to who you are and your life, or do the relationships you have with others define you? The nuances of this question can go on, and of course change throughout our lifetime, hopefully. We are not the same people we were when we were 18. Robert Fulton says, if you can answer the first three, what on earth have you done? What in God's name are you doing? What will you think of next? The last one will become obvious. Who do you think you are? Questions that examine what we believe is good and bad. And we need to examine it. It's not obvious what is good and bad. What are our doubts? What are our longings, our experiences, and how it all informs our religious life. Questions about what and why we believe, where we come from, and to what do we belong? Where does mind, body, and spirit meet? What happens to the life that we live when we die? All these questions lead us toward an examined life, ultimately shaping our religious experience, or AKA our life's meaning. Our answers arrive out of the unique constellation of experience, skill, and will that we each have. Sometimes we have to dig deep into what we have known and what we value to examine it. Sometimes we have to remember our lives. The questions are personal, and they can be used to look at our family and church and community and social structures. They can navigate how to return to the dream for the beloved society, a sort of reconciliation of sorts. Long ago, I happened to see an interview that stayed with me for so many years as I considered these questions. It was with a woman named Lori Ann Goldman. She's a businesswoman. She invented Spanx, which is not relevant to the story. But she's, she's made it in life, whatever that means. She was talking about her growing up years, and she tells the story about which each week at the dinner table, her father would ask her and her brother to share something they had tried and failed at. If they didn't have a story to share, he was disappointed. So each week they worked at trying and made note of the ways that they failed. And when they shared with their family, they were held in love. Goldman said what she learned from all these dinners was that failure was not unrecoverable. Not trying was. This is such an important lesson to remember when we are doing deep reflection in the midst of tragic society. In truth, I really envy Goldman being able to learn that in her youth. Feels like I didn't learn that until much, much, much later. When applied that question to the Robert Fulghum questions, what on earth have you done? What in God's name are you doing? What will you think of next? And who do you think you are? When we apply the lesson that failure is okay, and not trying or not loving or not hoping or holding ourselves back is the real shame, a new depth in our answers emerge. It reminds us to humble ourselves and be more gentle with others. Perhaps it should be the fifth life question. What have you failed at this week? I'm grateful that none of us are Samson in the Bible, because in the end, he was really mean and terrorizing. Yet this story, which was, of course, adapted over the ages, holds important lessons about the blessings we are given, how we lose them, and then find ourselves ungrounded. When we're in that spot that we can utilize Unitarian Universalist faith of the well-crafted question. The center of our faith is the well-crafted question. We regrow hair, or more importantly, find our unique strengths again. One final anecdote in this sermon. Where are we out of time? Oh, look at that. I'm pretty close. I'll slow down. I told you I'm in trouble. Okay, last year, I was at my sister's house. I was visiting her, and when I decided to make some microwave popcorn, and she had that kind of like hippy-dippy, all-natural popcorn. Pure pop is what it was called. That's about as pure as a microwave will allow, because it's still microwave popcorn. I opened the bag and started to read the instructions, and this is what it literally read. I kept the bag because I was like, oh boy, this is a keeper. It literally says, step 1, ready, take a deep breath. You got this. Then it goes on with 3 more steps. The kind of instructions that you would expect for a microwave popcorn, put this side up, that kind of thing. And then step 5, nice work, dig in. What incredibly sweet instructions for our lives. Take a deep breath. You got this. Whether it's success or failure or working or parenting or retirement or loving or expanding, aging, being in community, growing a church, or any of life's experiences that require us to dig deep and confront tough, motherly questions. Remember, take a deep breath, always. You got this. What on earth have you done? What in God's name are you doing? What will you think of next? Who do you think you are? What have you failed at this week? Nice work. Dig in. Maybe so.